So I have here a question about housing. I lost it. So how can we invest in dedicated and affordable rental housing stock? I think that's something really important to our demographic, that we're struggling to be able to find homes. So do you see an investment in housing playing a role in our recovery?
Yeah, absolutely. I think both in the construction of housing and also repair and retrofitting of housing as well. And I think there's some existing programs in place. The federal level, we have the National Housing Strategy, which is a 10-year, $40 billion plan, which is a historic investment, but it really is nowhere near what we need to create the type of affordable housing stock that especially our generation needs. There is a specific fund in there called the Rental Construction Finance Initiative that's actually funded a project in Whistler. There are some interesting models, and it really does require having a lot of different parties come to the table, like developers, sometimes multiple levels of government, to make it happen, and also nonprofits. So there's an example there, but when we're talking about the type of investments and stimulus that are going to have long-term impacts, that there's probably few areas that you could figure would have a bigger impact than development of more affordable housing stock. So yeah, like you said, for many of us, the idea of home ownership is out of reach, but the development of rental housing could be really, really key. And I do want to just give a quick shout out to the new 6-story housing project that's being proposed in Sechelt. I think it's a really, really interesting proposal, and we'll need more just like that.
Yeah, I think in Canada, there's kind of the expectation that rental housing is owned privately. That's not the case in other places in the world. In England, it's known as council housing. That's housing that's owned by the government. In Singapore, almost every single house is owned by the government. And that's just normal to rent from the government. But that's not the way that we do it here in Canada. Very little is owned by the government. We put our trust in private landowners to provide our rental housing stock. So I'm wondering if that can be maybe one of the bigger shifts as we move forward. Could be interesting.
It's a very, very interesting proposal, but it would be, as you said, a huge, huge shift, but definitely something worth exploring and seeing what's worked in other areas.